very good day to you, wee lads and lassies. Welcome to Kickstart Adventures. I hope you're having a terrific day. You might be wondering, why am I talking so funny? Well, let me explain. I've taken on the personality of a Scotsman because today, you and we're going to make a single malt Scottish whiskey. How about that? The grain of choice? Barley. Malted barley. This is a single malt, so come along for the ride. We're going to enjoy making this delicious single malt whiskey together. Scottish whiskey at that. Welcome, welcome. Join me for the process. Oh my word. That's so embarrassing. Let me stop trying to speak like a Scotsman and sound like an Indian. Hey guys, I'm here at the Spades Brewery. I'm making a single malt Scottish whiskey. Now, you're all aware that the Isle of Skye makes a whiskey, and their claim to fame is the water that they use. They don't use tap water with chemicals in. They use spring water, artesian well water. Here in Dunedin, we've got the Spades Brewery. That's where I'm at the moment. And they got consent to build years and years and years ago on this site, and underneath their site is an artesian well, and they got consent from the council on one condition, and that was to provide free clear drinking water for the public. So this is it. So to get it going, there we go. So that's the base of my Scottish whiskey. No chemicals, beautifully clean artesian well water, and that's going to be the base. If they get it right in Skye, where their whiskies world famous because of the water, well, let's see if we can make a good Scottish whiskey with artesian well water from the Spades Brewery. Pretty cool, eh? I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to be a good single malt Scottish whiskey. Let's see how we go. Alright guys, let's get into it. We're going to make this single malt barley Scottish whiskey. Let's do it. I'll show you the ingredients. Over here we've got the barley grain, and down there in those two buckets we've got crystal clear chemical free aqueduct water from the Spades Brewery down in New Zealand, Dunedin. So let's get into it guys. We're going to steep this now. Let's see how we go. Okay guys, so because we're doing a grain mash, we're going to use barley for this whiskey. We're just using barley, and once we've got it steeped, we're going to check the ABV, and we might add a bit of sugar to give it a good boost for alcohol content. So the first step we do is we put our mesh. This is my steeping pot. We've got gas as a source of heat, and that's going to be steeping the barley mash. Now into the pot we've put a net, and this net in the pot here can contain all the solids. So when we eventually separate the solids from the wash, we can just take the net and squeeze it, and all the juice will finally run out. So that's the first step. We've got the net in our pot here that we're going to be steeping the mash, the barley mash. The next step that we're going to do is the water. Now remember, I've already explained to you, Isle of Skye has world-renowned whiskies, and their claim to fame is the water that they use. No chemicals, it's groundwater, aqueduct water, and that really will add to the flavor of the whiskey that we're making. So here, as you saw initially, I got water from the Spades distillery. They have an aqueduct underneath their building, and they got permission to put up that building years and years ago on one condition: they supply clean water free of charge to the public, and that's aqueduct water. So I've got that. Let's load that into our steeping pot and we'll go from there. Okay guys, now we're cooking with gas. We're waiting for the water to reach temperature of 65 degrees, and then we can add our grain. Here's our pot going, and our heating is taking place. We've got gas going there. We're cooking with gas. It's heating up nicely, and just waiting for it to reach temperature. Let's check what the temperature is now. So at the moment our thermometer reads 10 degrees outside. Let's see what we get to. 32, 33 and climbing, 34 degrees. Yep, it's around about 34 degrees. So we've got another 30 degrees or so to go, and then we can add our grain. Hey guys, this is Bobby, my little helper. She's a little poodle Scottish terrier today. She's posing as a Scots terrier. She's going to be helping me with this Scottish whiskey. What do you reckon, Bobby? What do you reckon, my girl? You want to taste a beer? Is that nice? Do you like it? Not too much for you. This is Daddy's beer. We'll get you some Scottish whiskey later, eh? Alright, well, the temperature is probably almost rise. Let's go and have a look. Come on baby, light my fire. Heat up to 65. I wanna steep some whiskey. Light my fire, baby. Whoop, whoop. All jokes aside guys, let's get into some serious whiskey making. Alright, I think the temperature has reached the goal temperature of 65. Let's check it out. ...63 degrees and climbing. That's good enough. I'm going to add my barley in now, and then it will reach 65 shortly. Alright, so let's add the barley. Alright, so what we want to do is the barley you want to put in just at slow increments and give it a stir so it doesn't clump up. Alright, there goes the barley. Woo, look at that. Look at that. What? What? That's going to be so good. That's going to be so good. And now, gentle giants, we need a spoon. Where's that? I'm sure I had my spoon out there. Let me just grab it. Oh, yep, there it is, right behind me. All right. So, spoon, and just give, oh, the barley, you can smell it immediately, eh? Give that a stir. Look at that. Yes. That's good. So all the grain is contained in this mesh bag, and already the flavors have seeped through into the wash around it. All right, let's add some more in. This is pretty good. We're going to add all this grain in. Give that a stir. Oh, look at that. And you can smell the creaminess, the oatiness of this rolled barley mash. Oh, I wish you guys could smell it. Honestly, I wish you could smell it. It is just so good and smooth, velvety. Look at that, guys. Look at this. Does that look good or what? I'll tell you what, it smells fantastic. All right, let's get the last bit of the barley in. Let's go. That's about it. I think it's about 12 and a half or 10 to 12 and a half. I'll check later, but I know how many kilograms. I think it's 10 kilograms possibly of barley, maybe 12 and a half. Let's have a look. Now we give it a good stir. And then we're going to add something to this to help break up. Now, the whole purpose of steeping is to basically get the starches, which is the barley, to release the starch. Then once the starches have been released, gelatinized as it were, we add an enzyme that helps to do that, that converts that barley mash or the barley starch to sugar. So first of all, an enzyme, the alpha enzyme, that will help to release the starches, and then we want to add in another enzyme that will help to convert or gelatinize, glutenize the starch, turning it into sugar, and then it becomes extracted from the grain, and then it becomes ready to be fermented. So that's what we're doing right now. Check this out again, guys. It's just a nice thick porridge, but as soon as we add the enzyme in, you'll see it starts to gelatinize and get thinner, more watery as it were, and that's the process that we go through. Now it has to steep at about 65 degrees for 1 hour at least, to just make sure we're getting all the starches out of the barley grain. Looks good. Alright, I'll get back to you soon when we add the enzyme. So the temperature of the mash now, since I've added the mash, has dropped down to about 62 degrees. So you don't want it to go above 65. So you want it to steep at this temperature for about 45 minutes or so to an hour. Just to give it a stir every now and then, and for it to release all the starches. Right now, I think what we're going to do is add an enzyme to help with the breakdown of the starches from the grain. Okay guys, so it's been going for about 15 to 20 minutes now at 65 degrees, between 60 and 65. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add this alpha amylase, and what that does is, it says use dosage. The usage is, it says add into your mash with your grains, and so there's 10 kilograms of grain in here. I've checked, it was not 12 and a half, it was 10 kilograms of grain, and we're adding this alpha amylase in. And what this does is it helps to gelatinize and break up the starches from the grain, and it loosens them up, and you'll see from a porridge it becomes more watery as it were, and then the starches are released, and then what we do, we add another enzyme to help convert those starches into sugar, and then once that's done, we get it down to temperature, and then we can add the yeast, distiller's yeast, which helps for the distilling process of it before it's stored. Alright, so at the moment we've just got our pure aqueduct water and our clean grain, mashed barley grain. One mash, one grain, single malt whiskey. Alright, so now we're going to add this alpha enzyme, amylase, and then we're going to just see how this whole system actually starts converting into more of a liquid system than a porridge. Alright, so we'll put that all in, add that in, the whole sachet. That's for 10 kilograms of starch, of barley, and we'll give it a stir. That enzyme should start working almost instantly, and you should start seeing that this porridgey consistency becomes more watery as the starches are released and broken up. There you go, you can see it happening now. It's definitely becoming thinner. I can feel it through the spoon, the way the spoon travels through the liquid and the grain. Alright, just for interest's sake, let's just check on the temperature again. Where did I put my thermometer? We'll check on the temperature again. Okay, the temperature outside is dropping, but inside, let's have a look. Inside the steeping pot, 58, 59, 61, 62 degrees, 62.5, 67. Yep, so that's stabilizing there at about 63 degrees. Maybe it'll go up a little bit more. Excellent. There we go, 63 degrees. So that's good. And already you can see the consistency of this is now lightened up a bit. It's more viscous. The viscosity has increased. It's quite liquid. That'll liquefy a whole lot more as the steeping process takes place. Alright, so to recap, what have we got in here? So far, we've had our clean aqueduct water, 25 litres. We've brought it up to temperature, 65 degrees. Then we've added our malted barley, single malt barley. We got that to temperature. After about 20 minutes, we've added the alpha alumase. I never know how to say it. Anyway, it's called alpha amylase. It's an enzyme, and what that does is it gelatinizes and converts the starches into a glutinous form, more liquid form, and then it starts to convert it into sugar as well. And we're going to add another enzyme, distillers enzyme, which does the actual converting of starch into sugar, which we'll add in shortly. But that's up until now. So we'll let this steep for another half an hour at this temperature, 60 degrees to 65, and we'll just leave it, give it some time, let it do its thing. So final stir, and then I'm going to close it, and we'll just leave it for a bit, let it do its thing. Patience is a virtue. Very good. Alright, and put the lid back on, and maybe we can go inside and have another beer. That'll be good. You know guys, when you're doing a home still and home brewing, it's all about the process. It's so enjoyable, and it's a nice way to spend a lazy afternoon. So our brew's busy going out there now. We're steeping the barley. I'm waiting for it to go through that process before I add the final enzyme, and I'm enjoying a nice beer, and I thought, why don't I have a cigar? So what I've got here is a Cuba cigar. It's called Cuba Venchi, a chocolate. It's called a Crocanti Noganti. So it's a chocolate cigar. Anyway, I thought I might enjoy a bit of chocolate cigar along with my beer. It will be good. Now this is what I call a cigar. This cigar smells just like chocolate. It must be because it is chocolate. Nice one. Alright guys, so the temperature of our mash is now just reached 60 degrees. So we're adding a final enzyme in, and this enzyme is called distiller's glucoamylase, and the purpose of it is for satification. Glucoamylase is a fungal derived enzyme which breaks down dextrins into simple sugars before fermentation process. So what they say on this little packet is also, it says suggested instructions. It says add enzymes to liquefied starch slurry or malted grain mash once at or below 60 degrees centigrade. Stir well, cover, and then allow to stand for another hour before cooling for fermentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this now, distiller's glucoamylase enzyme, and that'll help again break up the starches. Man, people's teeth are good, eh? It's a good tool. Break up starches and convert them into sugars before fermentation. So I'm putting that in now, all of it into this mash, right, and then we'll give it a good stir. And leave it then for an hour. Well, 45 minutes should be enough. And then what we do, we need to extract the mash now from the wash. And what's that called? It's called sparging. It's called sparging. So we want to sparge the barley mash to get all the goodness out of the barley into the wash. And how we're going to do that is once we let it sit for a bit, we'll lift the mesh that I have here, the mesh basket, let everything drip out, then we'll empty the wash and we'll put some more hot water, rinse hot water through the sort of dried out, or the drained mash, to extract just the last of those elements out. Then there's one more process we'll do before fermentation, and that's checking the ABV, the alcohol by volume of the wash that we have. That is before fermentation. So after fermentation we can check it again and see what the ABV is, and that will help us to appreciate how much yield we can get from the total distilling process. So this is done now. We're going to just give it a stir and then leave it for 45 minutes, and then we'll sparge it, separate the malt, the barley from the wash, and get all the goodness out of that separated barley. And then we're going to add a bit of sugar, just normal white sugar, to just bring up the yield, because now it's got all the flavors of the malt, and then we should have a good base to work with. Very nice. I just want to quickly do a taste test to see if I can taste the sweetness of the barley. Definitely from starch to a sweetness, a sugary sweet flavor, so that's a good sign. All right, we're going to let those enzymes do the trick. We've given it a good stir. We'll check it again in half an hour or 45 minutes time. So now it's time to separate the barley mash from the wash. The steeping has taken place over the last hour and a half, and now we're going to lift the mesh basket with the barley granules in, let most of the water run out. We'll then empty that wash, that vort, we'll put into our distilling bucket, and then we'll take good warm water and let that seep through the drained barley mash and get the last of the goodness out. So let's do that now. So what I'll do is I'll just show you over here. This is the at the moment the basket, and these the wash these. So we've got all that over there. So you can see that that's all down there, and that's good. All the nourishment and sugars are now in that wash down there. Right, but now what we want to do is, there we go. So now what I want to do, let's just do that again. Okay, so we've got all that out. So now I'm going to take this spoon and I'm going to lift this right out. Drain the water from the sack. So the wash is now filling through into the bucket. Put it right underneath here. And let that fold over there. So that's now out of the wash, and the last of the goodness is draining out of the mash. And then we're going to lift it out completely, and what we'll do is we'll empty the wash that's left in this container, the pot, into our fermenting bucket, and then we'll sparge this by putting some more warm water through it, and then just to get the last of the goodness out of that mash. So now guys, what we want to do is transfer the wash from our pot into our fermenting bucket. So this is clean wash, no grain in it. Let's do that. Oh, just look at that. A beautiful barley wash. Eish, it's going to be amazing. And it's clean, no granules in it. Right. Very good. Now guys, we've got the drained grain in an empty pot. This is the drained grain, but now there's still some goodness in there. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some more aqueduct water, good clean fresh spring water, and putting it in there, and we're going to sparge this by just letting it work through. Basically getting the grains all moving around and getting the water in between, and basically getting everything out that we can. Everything out, right. So that's a good soaking. So we'll lift this up again. And drain that. So this grain now is pretty drained. It's pretty drained. And all the goodness is out of this grain, all the goodness that we want. The barley has served its purpose. All right, last bit, give it a squeeze. Okay, so there we've sparged that grain. So now you'll see there's still some good colour in there that's absorbed the flavours and got the last of the goodness out of the grain. Now we convert this again. We transfer this, the last of that, into our bucket. There we go. Still a little bit in there. Right. So now the last bit of process that we want to go through in this stainless steel bucket here, I've prepared 2.5 kilograms of white sugar with aqueduct water, hot water. It's diluted. And now what we want to do is we're going to add that to our wash to bring up the sugar content, and that's going to then really help for a, there we go, look at that, that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So that's 2.5 kilograms of white sugar added to our barley wash. That, my friends, is the base for fermentation. What is the temperature of that right now? Well, let's have a look. Temperature of our wash is 43, 45 degrees, 46. So we're going to let that cool down to about 24 degrees, let that settle, and then we add our distiller's yeast, and we're off to a good start. But what we have to also do is measure the specific gravity. Maybe we can do that now. Measure the specific gravity of what it is before fermentation. Make a note of that and then check it afterwards again. Right, so we can do that. Let's do that. Right guys, so I'm just checking the specific gravity of our wash now, and it sits at 1088. 1088. So we'll make a note of that, and then afterwards we will measure the specific gravity after fermentation. So this is before fermentation, 1088. Just making sure. So that is 1088. That's right. Okay, 1088. So let's see where we go from there. I'm going to now let it cool down to a temperature ready to introduce the distiller's yeast, and then we leave it and let it bubble away before we catch up with the distilling of it. Alright, very good. I'll show you the next step in a moment. Okay guys, so this is the last bit of the steeping process where we're going to get this on the fermentation going. So I've checked the specific gravity and it is 1.088. That's before fermentation. So what I have over here is a distiller's whiskey yeast. The alcohol tolerance 15% ABV. It's called a specialist whiskey distiller's yeast for elegant, well-rounded and refined whiskey spirits. A unique yeast strain for craft distilling. So the yeast I'm going to add now, and then I'll put my little bubble blocker on, airlock, and it should start fermenting very soon. So thanks for watching guys. It's been awesome to show you the whole process. We're going to let it ferment now for a week, and hopefully by the end of this week coming it'll be ready to put through the still, and then we're going to light up that baby outside and get this in the still and produce some beautiful barley malt, single malt Scotch whiskey. So thanks for watching guys. Let's get this yeast in here, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so. Yeah, that'll be appreciated. Also, give us a like, share it with some friends, people, like-minded people, and we can enjoy the craft together. If you have comments, post the comments. I try to answer them, and yeah, thank you very much for watching. It's been a blast. Look at that, wow. So that's the yeast in. I think we might just give it a little stir. Get it going. Give it a nice stir. Get the airlock on. And that's us for the evening. It's taken quite a bit longer than I thought it might take, but hey, it's been a good process, and I hope you've enjoyed watching the process and If you're keen to start something like this yourself as a hobby, it's great, guys. You'll enjoy it. There we go. Okay, baby, you do your fermenting. All right, that's nicely sealed, guys. Catch up later. See you next week, eh? And we're going to put this baby through the still and get some Scottish whiskey. Cheers, guys.